She was a powerful CEO, used to giving orders, not taking them. He was the quiet janitor who cleaned her office every night. But when a shocking crisis exposed his true identity, their lives changed forever. This isn't just a love story, it's a tale of secrets, survival, and the strength we never see coming. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications. Stories like this remind us that heroes and love can be found in the most unexpected places. The Unseen Man. The Chicago skyline glittered under the setting sun, its towering buildings casting long shadows over the streets below. Inside the sleek, modern offices of Stratagen Corporation, the hum of computers and hushed conversations had faded. Most employees had already left for the day. But in the corner office on the 42nd floor, Olivia Carter was still working. Olivia was a woman who commanded attention without trying. At 35, she had built Stratagen from a fledgling startup into a powerhouse tech firm, and her sharp mind and relentless drive had earned her both admiration and fear in the corporate world. Tonight, however, she wasn't thinking about stock prices or board meetings. She was staring at a contract written in Mandarin, frustration tightening her jaw. The merger with Liang Tech was crucial, and one mistranslation could cost her millions. A soft knock at the door made her glance up. The janitor stood there, his mop bucket in hand. He was tall, with broad shoulders and a quiet presence, his dark hair streaked with the faintest hint of gray. Olivia had seen him before, every night in fact, but she had never really looked at him. To her, he was just part of the background, like the hum of the air conditioning or the flicker of the fluorescent lights. "Evening, ma'am," he said, his voice low and calm. "Just here to clean." Olivia barely nodded, returning to her papers. "Go ahead." He moved silently, emptying the trash bin, wiping down surfaces with practiced efficiency. Olivia barely registered his presence until she heard him speaking, fluent, effortless Mandarin, into his phone. Her head snapped up. The janitor, Danny according to his name tag, was murmuring into the device, his tone firm but weary. Olivia caught only snippets. "Not yet, too risky. I can't go back." Then he hung up, slipping the phone into his pocket. Olivia's curiosity flared. A janitor who spoke Mandarin like a native? Before she could question him, her elbow bumped her coffee cup, sending dark liquid spilling across the contract. She cursed under her breath, grabbing for tissues. Danny was at her side in an instant, his movements quick but controlled. He pulled a clean cloth from his cart and blotted the paper before the ink could run. "Careful," he said. "The clause on page 3 is the one you don't want smudged." Olivia froze. "You read this?" Danny hesitated, then nodded. "Enough to know it's a standard exclusivity agreement. But the penalty for breach is higher than usual." Her pulse quickened. "How do you know that?" He met her gaze for the first time, and Olivia was struck by the intensity in his eyes, sharp, assessing, like a soldier scanning a battlefield. Then just as quickly it was gone, replaced by polite detachment. "Picked up some things over the years," he said simply. Olivia opened her mouth to press further, but a sudden commotion in the hallway cut her off. The door burst open and a security guard, one she didn't recognize, stumbled in, his face pale. "Bomb threat," he gasped. "The building's being evacuated. Now." Olivia's stomach dropped. She grabbed her phone, but before she could dial, Danny's entire demeanor changed. His spine straightened, his voice cutting through the panic like a blade. "Where's the threat located?" he demanded. The guard blinked. Ninth floor, east wing. Then we go west. Stairwell C is clear." Danny turned to Olivia, his tone leaving no room for argument. "Move. Now." Olivia didn't question it. Something in his voice, the absolute certainty, made her obey. As they rushed into the hallway, she watched Danny take charge without hesitation, directing straggling employees, checking exits, his movements precise, instinctive. This wasn't just a janitor. This was a man who had done this before. And then, as they reached the stairwell, she saw it. The way his hand hovered near his hip, as if reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. The way his eyes scanned every shadow, every corner. "Who are you?" The question burned in her mind as they descended, but the answer, she suspected, was far more dangerous than she could imagine. The unraveling. The stairwell was a blur of motion, employees rushing downward, voices echoing off the concrete walls, the occasional cry of panic cutting through the chaos. Olivia kept close to Danny, her heels clicking against the steps as she struggled to match his pace. His hand occasionally brushed against her back, guiding her forward, his touch steady despite the urgency of their escape. Halfway down, the crowd bottlenecked at a landing where a woman had stumbled, her ankle twisted. People shoved past her, too frantic to stop. Danny didn't hesitate. He crouched beside her, his voice calm but firm. "Can you stand?" The woman shook her head, tears streaking her makeup. I don't think so." Without another word, Danny scooped her up, cradling her against his chest as effortlessly as if she weighed nothing. He glanced at Olivia. "Stay behind me." Olivia nodded, her pulse hammering. Who was this man? Janitors didn't carry people down 30 flights of stairs like it was nothing. Janitors didn't speak in clipped, authoritative commands that made strangers instinctively obey. When they finally burst through the lobby doors into the cool night air, emergency lights painted the sidewalk in flashing red and blue. Police officers shouted directions, herding evacuees toward a cordoned-off area across the street. Danny set the woman down gently, handing her off to a paramedic before turning to Olivia. "You okay?" She stared at him, her breath still uneven. What the hell just happened? Before he could answer, a sharp voice cut through the noise. "Olivia." Mark Reynolds, Stratagen's head of security, pushed through the crowd, his face tight with relief. "Thank God you're out. We've got bomb squads sweeping the building now." Olivia barely registered his words. Her attention was fixed on Danny, who had taken a half-step back, his posture shifting, subtle but unmistakable. He was withdrawing, retreating into the background again. Not if she had anything to say about it. "Mark, give us a minute," she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. Mark frowned but nodded, moving off to coordinate with the police. Olivia turned to Danny. "We need to talk." His jaw tightened. "Not here." She expected resistance, but he simply led her to a quieter spot near an alley, away from the chaos. The moment they were out of earshot, Olivia crossed her arms. "Start talking. Who are you really?" Danny exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. For the first time she noticed the faint scars along his knuckles, old but deliberate. The kind left by violence, not accidents. "It's complicated," he said finally. Olivia's patience snapped. "A bomb threat just went off in my building and you acted like you've done this 100 times before. I think I deserve an explanation." A muscle flickered in his jaw. Then quietly, "I was military. Special ops. Tactical evacuation protocols. They stick with you." Olivia's breath caught. That explained the reflexes, the way he'd taken control. But it didn't explain why he was here, pushing a mop instead of wearing a uniform. "Why are you working as a janitor?" His gaze darkened just for a second. "Let's just say the transition to civilian life isn't always smooth." Before she could press further, a shout erupted from the crowd. A man in a security uniform, the same one who'd burst into her office, was sprinting away from the scene, 2 cops in pursuit. Danny's entire body tensed. Olivia followed his gaze. "What?" The man twisted mid-run, something glinting in his hand. A gun. Danny moved faster than she could process. 1 second he was beside her. The next he'd shoved her behind a parked car just as the first shot rang out. Screams erupted. Olivia's heart pounded in her ears as Danny crouched beside her, his eyes locked on the gunman. "Stay down," he ordered. Then he was gone, melting into the chaos like a shadow. Olivia barely dared to breathe. Across the street, the gunman fired again, wild, panicked, before Danny materialized behind him, disarming him with a brutal, efficient twist. The gun clattered to the pavement, and Danny had the man pinned face down before the cops even reached them. The whole thing took less than 10 seconds. Olivia's hands trembled as she stood. This wasn't just training. This was combat. By the time she reached Danny, the police were cuffing the would-be shooter, who was snarling something about payback and owed debts. Danny stepped back, his expression unreadable, but Olivia saw the way his fingers flexed, like they were itching for another fight. Mark rushed over, his face ashen. "Olivia, are you?" She ignored him, her focus entirely on Danny. "That wasn't just about the bomb, was it?" Danny met her eyes, and for the first time she saw something raw flicker in his gaze. Fear. Anger. Something deeper. "No," he said quietly. "It wasn't." And then, before she could stop him, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the night like a ghost. Olivia stared after him, 1,000 questions burning in her mind. But one thing was certain. Danny Mercer was no janitor. And whatever he was running from, it had just found him. The danger closes in. The police reports called it a targeted corporate attack, but Olivia knew better. The man who had fired the gun wasn't some disgruntled employee. He had looked straight at Danny before pulling the trigger. She spent the next 2 days buried in security briefings, press statements, and damage control. The bomb threat had been a diversion, the device nothing more than a crude fake. The real danger had been the gunman. And the real target? Danny Mercer. Olivia had tried calling him, but his phone went straight to voicemail. She even went by his apartment, a small, nondescript building on the outskirts of the city, but the landlord said he hadn't been home since the incident. He's running again. The thought unsettled her more than she wanted to admit. She barely knew this man, and yet, after seeing what he was capable of, she couldn't shake the feeling that he was in trouble. Her assistant Rachel knocked on her office door. "Olivia, Vincent Cole is here to see you." Olivia's blood ran cold. Vincent Cole was Stratagen's biggest competitor, a ruthless businessman with a reputation for crushing anyone in his way. He had tried to sabotage her merger with Liang Tech before. And now, after the attack, he was here? Send him in. Vincent strode into the room like he owned it, his tailored suit and polished smile exuding calculated charm. "Olivia. Terrible business, what happened here? I came to offer my support." She didn't buy it for a second. "How generous. What do you really want?" Vincent's smile didn't waver. "I heard your janitor was quite the hero. Stopped an armed gunman single-handedly. Odd skills for a cleaning crew, don't you think?" Olivia kept her expression neutral. "Lucky reflexes." Vincent chuckled low and knowing. "Daniel Mercer doesn't rely on luck." Her breath caught. "He knows his name." Vincent leaned in, his voice dropping to a whisper. "You have no idea who you're dealing with, do you? That man is dangerous. And if he's hiding in your building, it's only a matter of time before his past catches up to him, and to you." Olivia's pulse pounded, but she refused to flinch. "Is that a threat?" Vincent straightened, his smile turning icy. "A warning. Cut him loose, Olivia. Before you regret it." He left without another word, but his message was clear. Danny wasn't just hiding from his past. He was hiding from Vincent. That night, Olivia worked late again, her mind racing. She needed answers, and there was only one place left to look. Danny's personnel file. She pulled it up on her computer, expecting the usual sparse details of a low-level employee. Instead, she found redacted lines, a military discharge code she didn't recognize, and a single, chilling note under additional remarks. Subject considered high risk. Do not engage without authorization. Before she could process it, the lights flickered. Then the power went out. Olivia froze, her screen going black. The office was silent, too silent. No hum of electronics, no distant chatter of security. Just the faintest sound of footsteps in the hallway. Slow, deliberate, coming toward her. She reached for her phone, but a shadow filled her doorway before she could dial. "Olivia." Danny's voice. She exhaled in relief, until she saw his face. His expression was grim, his body tense like a coiled spring. He wasn't here to talk. He was here to fight. "We need to go. Now." She didn't argue. Something in his tone left no room for debate. They moved quickly, Danny guiding her through the darkened office with unnerving precision. He didn't need light to navigate, another skill she was starting to understand. They were halfway to the emergency stairwell when the first gunshot rang out. Danny shoved her behind a cubicle wall just as the glass doors shattered. "Stay down," he hissed. Olivia's heart hammered against her ribs. "Who are they?" Danny's jaw clenched. "Cole's men." Another shot. Closer this time. Danny reached into his jacket and pulled out a handgun Olivia hadn't known he was carrying. "You have 5 seconds to walk away," he called out, his voice steel. The only response was another bullet embedding itself in the wall beside them. Danny's eyes met hers, apologetic, resolved. Then he moved. What happened next was a blur of motion. Danny fired twice, the shots precise. A man cried out. Footsteps retreated. Silence. Olivia didn't realize she was shaking until Danny was back at her side, his hand steady on her arm. "Come on. We're not safe here." She followed him, her mind reeling. This wasn't just about a corporate rivalry. This was something darker. And Danny was right in the middle of it. As they slipped into the stairwell, she finally asked the question burning in her chest. "What did you do to make Vincent Cole want you dead?" Danny didn't look back. "Something I can't undo." The truth and the triumph. The safe house was a small, nondescript apartment in a part of the city Olivia rarely visited. The walls were bare, the furniture sparse, and the only light came from a single lamp flickering on the kitchen table. Danny locked the door behind them, checking the windows with the precision of a man who expected enemies at every turn. Olivia wrapped her arms around herself, the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. You're going to tell me everything. Now. Danny exhaled, running a hand through his hair. For the first time since she'd met him, he looked exhausted. Not just tired, broken. 5 years ago, I was leading a Delta Force team in Syria, he began, his voice low. Our mission was to extract a high-value target, a weapons dealer supplying terrorists. But when we got there, the intel was wrong. It wasn't just a dealer. It was a setup. Olivia watched as his knuckles whitened around the edge of the table. Vincent Cole was there. Her breath caught. What? Danny's eyes were dark, haunted. He was brokering a deal. Weapons for oil. We walked into a bloodbath. My team, they didn't make it out. I barely did. Olivia's mind raced. And Cole? Covered his tracks. Blamed the ambush on me. Said I sold out my own men. The military believed him. His voice cracked. I was discharged. Branded a traitor. The pieces fell into place. The janitor job. The way he hid in plain sight. The fear in his eyes when he fought, not for himself but for her. Olivia stepped closer. And now? Cole found out I was alive. He thinks I have evidence that could expose him. Danny met her gaze. And he's right. The plan was reckless. They would break into Cole's private estate, retrieve the files proving his betrayal and clear Danny's name. It was suicide. But it was the only way out. Olivia insisted on coming. You don't owe me this, Danny said as they crouched in the shadows outside Cole's mansion. She adjusted the comm device in her ear, a loan from an old friend in cybersecurity. This isn't just about you anymore. He threatened my company. My people. Her voice hardened. I don't walk away from a fight. Danny studied her for a long moment. Then, softly, you're something else, Olivia Carter. The break-in was a blur of silenced alarms and whispered commands. Danny moved like a ghost, disabling guards with quiet efficiency. Olivia followed, her pulse steady for the first time all night. She trusted him. Then they found the safe. Inside was a file stamped classified. Photos of Cole with warlords. Bank transfers. And a recording, his voice clear as day, ordering the hit on Danny's team. We got him, Olivia whispered. A shadow shifted behind them. Did you? Vincent Cole stood in the doorway, a gun leveled at Danny's chest. Olivia's blood turned to ice. Cole smirked. I knew you'd come. Sentimental to the end. His finger tightened on the trigger. Say hello to your team for me. Danny moved, but Olivia was faster. She lunged, knocking Cole off balance just as the gun fired. The shot went wide, shattering a lamp. Danny was on him in an instant, disarming him with a brutal twist. Cole snarled, scrambling back. Right into the path of his own security team, flooding the room. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Olivia held up the file. We have proof. Cole sold out American soldiers. He's the traitor, not Danny. The guards hesitated. One, a grizzled man with a veteran's tattoo, lowered his weapon. Mercer? The Mercer? Danny nodded. The guard stepped aside. Then we never saw you. The fallout was swift. Cole was arrested. The media exploded with the story. And Danny's name was finally cleared. 3 months later, Olivia stood on the rooftop of her new venture, a non-profit helping veterans transition to civilian life. Danny stood beside her, no longer hiding in the shadows. You sure about this? He asked, nodding at the crowd below. You gave up being CO for this life. Olivia smiled, lacing her fingers through his. Best decision I ever made. The wind carried the sound of laughter from below. For the first time in years, Danny smiled back. Sometimes the greatest battles aren't fought on the battlefield, but in the quiet moments after. If this story inspired you, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that even the darkest past can lead to a brighter future.